He said to me, "Understand, Son of Man, that the vision pertains to the time of the end." The angel Gabriel told Daniel clearly, "This vision is not for your time, it pertains to the time of the end." The scholars placed it in ancient history and moved on, but the angel said otherwise. What follows is not a theory. It is a reading of Daniel 8 against events that have already happened and events happening right now. In the 4th week of a war, the whole world is watching. The sequence is already complete. We are living inside the final movement of it. The ram with 2 horns. Daniel 8:3-4. I looked up, and there before me was a ram with 2 horns. One of the horns was longer than the other, but grew up later. I watched the ram as it charged towards the west and the north and the south. No animal could stand against it, and none could rescue from its power. It did as it pleased and became great. The angel identified the ram as the kings of Media and Persia. The geographic territory of ancient Media and Persia corresponds to modern Iraq and Iran. 2 powers, 2 horns. One rose first, one came up later and became higher. The first horn. The lower horn rose first, pushed westward. The Gulf War, the invasion of Kuwait, the threat to Saudi Arabia and the entire Western energy supply became great in regional terms. The first horn was broken in 2003. The he-goat from the west charged and Iraq fell. Saddam Hussein removed from power. The lower horn shattered and cast to the ground. The higher horn came up later, became dominant across the entire Middle East, Lebanon through Hezbollah, Syria through Assad, Iraq through Shia militias, Yemen through the Houthis, pushed westward, northward, southward, developed nuclear capability, became great enough to force the world's major powers to confront it directly. Is being broken right now. Operation Epic Fury. Khamenei killed, the IRGC decimated. The nuclear program dismantled, the Islamic Republic collapsing in real time. March 22, 2026. The he-goat from the west. Suddenly a goat with a prominent horn between its eyes came from the west, crossing the whole earth without touching the ground. It charged at the ram in great rage, striking the ram and shattering its 2 horns. The ram was powerless to stand against it. The he-goat comes from the west, crosses the whole earth without touching the ground, meaning its speed and scale that no previous power has matched. But this identification goes deeper than just the nation. The he-goat had 2 distinct phases, 2 movements, each one breaking 1 horn of the ram. First movement, 2003. The he-goat charges, the lower horn, Iraq falls. Saddam Hussein removed, the first horn shattered. Then on April 30, 2007, a covenant document was introduced, an international framework that divided the land of Israel and set a prophetic clock into motion. The Alpha document, the seed of what would become the Board of Peace planted, while the first horn lay broken and the second horn was still standing. The he-goat charges again, this time against the higher horn. Iran. Operation Epic Fury, launched February 28, 2026. Khamenei killed 8,000 military targets, struck 130 Iranian vessels, destroyed. The largest elimination of a navy since World War II. The higher horn is being broken right now, and the covenant document planted in 2007 has matured, represented September 23, 2025, signed as the Board of Peace on January 22, 2026. The covenant with many confirmed while the second horn falls. 48 hours from tonight, the ultimatum to open the Strait of Hormuz expires. The biggest power plant in Iran may be next. When he was strong, the great horn was broken. The goat became very great, but at the height of his power, his large horn was broken off, and in its place 4 prominent horns grew up toward the 4 winds of heaven. Not when the goat was weak, not when it was challenged at the height of its power. After breaking both horns of the ram, the great horn itself is broken. The breaking of the great horn is the destruction of Mystery Babylon, the collapse of the world's dominant power, At the moment of its greatest military victory, America breaks Iran, and then America itself is broken. The great horn breaks, and four kingdoms arise toward the four winds. The board of peace, already built, already signed, positioned to govern what rises from the breaking. And more. Watch part 2 of The He-Goat and the two horns in my content. He-Goat breaks the first horn. Iraq falls, 2003. Covenant seed planted April 30, 2007, the Alpha document. He-Goat breaks the second horn. Iran falls, 2026 now. The great horn is broken, mystery Babylon destroyed. Four horns arise toward the four winds, global order fractures. The little horn arises from one of the four, the AC consolidates from the wreckage. The little horn. Daniel 8:9, 23, 24. Out of one of them came another horn, which started small but grew in power toward the south, toward the east, and toward the beautiful land. A fierce-looking king, a master of intrigue, will arise. He will become very strong, but not by his own power. Strong, but not by his own power. The Board of Peace bestows indefinite authority. The 10 nations give their power to him. The covenant with many is the mechanism by which the little horn receives what it did not earn. He arises after the great horn breaks. Out of one of the four kingdoms that arise from the breaking, he steps into the vacuum with power already assembled, already waiting, already funded by the nation he consumed. The city being built between the seas, the soldiers already positioned, the covenant already signed. The little horn does not build from scratch. He inherits what the great horn built and was then broken from. The documented record. These were documented and published before the events became visible. April 30, 2007. The Alpha document presented the covenant seed planted. God had his watchmen watching this date. April 8, 2024. The Jonah eclipse, the warning to mystery Babylon written in the sky across America. April 7, 2025. Handshake covenant between the heads of the He-Goat and Israel. 365 days after the Jonah eclipse, God had his watchmen watching it in real time. September 22, 2025. Era close covenant time ends 1 Tishri. The tribulation clock starting. The covenant document beginning to circulate. January 22, 2026. The Board of Peace signed at Davos. 35 nations. The covenant with many confirmed. February 28, 2026. Operation Epic Fury launched. The He-Goat charges. The second horn. Khamenei killed. March 17, 2026. Bushehr nuclear plant struck. 350 meters from the active reactor. Third trumpet mechanism in position. March 22, 2026. Tonight. 48-hour ultimatum issued. Open the Strait of Hormuz or the power plants are obliterated, starting with the biggest one first. The vision pertains to the time of the end. Gabriel told Daniel to seal up the vision because it concerned the distant future. That future is no longer distant. The ram with two horns, Iraq and Iran, both broken by the He-Goat from the west. The great horn at the height of its power approaching its own breaking. The four kingdoms about to arise. The little horn waiting to step into the vacuum with power given, not earned. This is not a prophecy about ancient Greece and Persia. Gabriel said so himself. This is the time of the end, and we are 14 days from Nisan 17. The vision of the end is no longer a vision. It is the news.